Hello and welcome to Ecoholics. In this video, we will discuss about Indian Economic Service Examination conducted by UPSC. This examination, if you are a postgraduate economics students, you can give this examination and you are eligible for this examination. Now, this examination consists of 6 papers where all papers are in the written format, subjective format, 3 hours each, 6 papers for 3 days. That is why the components of answer writing plays a very important role. Here we need to understand what exactly we need to write in answers we will discuss in this video. I will discuss 3 major components that will help you in order to present a better answers in UPSC copies so that you can fetch more marks. The reason is very simple, because we sometimes think that UPSC doesn't give marks, but in reality, if I have seen my last 10 years of experience in this examination, I have realized that UPSC give marks. Students does not know how to fetch those marks. So in this video, we will discuss 3 major components that will help you in getting more marks with the same amount of effort that you are putting in. So if you are preparing for next year's examination of Indian Economic Service, this video is going to help you. Before we come on to the video, I would like to tell you that I conduct 3 hours UPSC Indian Economic Service workshop, which is absolutely free. The registration link is given in the description and in the first comment. So go and register now. Let's move to the 3 components. Now, when we are writing answers, it's like this is the question come answer booklet, question come answer booklet, QCA booklet, what we call. Under this, the question will be printed in the examination. So you will get the question come answer booklet, and under that you will get the question already printed. Now after that you have the space to write it. Now this space is very limited because they cut out the margins where you cannot write. So it means these are the space, the borders are useless. So if you are practicing on a plain A4 size sheet, okay, A4 paper, then please don't forget to carve out those margins, because it will create a problem if you write full from left side to right side, because this you will not get. You will get this much only. So try practicing incorporating 7 to 10 words in one line, minimum 7. If you have a like small words handwriting, then you can incorporate even 10. Sometimes people incorporate only 5. So suppose you are writing 100 words answer here, then you have to write 20 lines if you are writing 5 words. But if you are writing 6, 7, it will be very easy to conclude your answer in 14 to 15 lines. So this you need to measure very, very importantly, because in 100 word answer they give 1 page, in 200 they give 2 pages. So approximately 100 words you need to write in 1 page. Now coming on to the 3 important components. Now number 1 is structured presentation. Sometimes we feel that whatever we will write, it will be like working in our favor. Or if you know the answer, you can write it anywhere. Structured presentation is very important. We will see how we are going to approach that when we discuss the first point. Second point is analytical, depth and integration. Now here depth and integration are the 2 most important components, because you're writing answer for economic services. So you need to be well versed in the subject. You should speak the language of the subject, because people, those who are evaluating these copies, they are also from the same subjects. So they actually have the habit of reading those economics language. So here what I say, depth and integration is there, but the most important thing is analytical. It should not be a bookish, it should not be a plain like a newspaper article or something like that, but it should be analytical according to the issue that has been asked in the paper in the question. Third one is language, clarity and precision. These 3 things very important. So here language, it means whatever language you are writing, it should not be very high of vocabulary in English, but it should not be a very simple generalized English. So in a decent manner, what I say, whatever you are trying to communicate, it should be clear with the language. Clarity means it should be legible. It means I am able to read the answer properly. I should not struggle in reading your handwriting. So if you are struggling with answer writing, I would say before writing answer, you first do writing practice. And in my another video of Indian Economic Service, I have explained how to start answer writing. The link is in the description. You can watch it later. Then we have clarity and precision. Why precision? Because UPSC gives word limits. They're not expecting you to write essay on that. So precision is very important. What they're asking exactly, you should be presenting that point only. Let's move on to the first point to discuss in detail. Number one is structured presentation. Now, whenever we write any answer, since like our school days, we understand that writing answers like introduction, body, and conclusion. But how to write introduction? What exactly we need to write in the introduction? Generally, we struggle. Because if you remember your 12th board examination, if they're asking definition, in 2 lines, you were writing definition. If you are writing, suppose for example, any explanation, merits, demerits, in 1 line, 2 lines, you are completing that. But when we enter into college, we have the habit of writing more and more. So one particular question, we generally write in our college examination 5 pages to 8 pages answer. And we take pride in taking supplementary copies. So that states the statement in the examination hall that this person is writing so much. And then cut to when you prepare for UPSC civil services or economic services, you realize that whatever you have done in the college actually ruined your answer writing. So remember one thing, that go back to the 12th board examination where you have realized that writing to the point is very, very important. Now here you need to understand the flow will remain same, introduction, body, and conclusion, but what exactly we need to write in. Now suppose the question is related to economic reforms. In the introduction, you have to give the indication to the examiner that you understood the question. For example, if we take why India adopted economic reforms in 1991, why not earlier? Now, suppose this is the main crux of the question. Then can you start your introduction by writing something about economic crisis that led to implementation of economic reforms, not by choice, but due to compulsion. So this is how, if you start writing introduction, you will realize that you are giving an indication to the examiner that you understood the question in very first line. And in first 2 to 3 lines, that what I say 15% of the word limit you should devote to introduction, you are giving a clear-cut instruction to the examiner that you understood the question. Second is about body. Now under body, we have few things which I have written for you. Number one is flow. Flow is very vital. Flow means whatever they're asking in the question, you should not deviate from that. This is the first thing. Second flow is whatever they are asking in the question, you should stick with that, and whatever argument you are providing, you should provide proper evidences, like according to IMF, according to RBI, or according to XYZ policies, or government is doing this. Example, one policy, one data, or inflation is rising, provide data. Or if suppose the question is related to growth versus inflation, how RBI is balancing that. So in that sense, the flow must go in a smooth direction, that first you talk about inflation, second you talk about growth, and then you club it together and then write it conclusion. So what I'm saying, that here flow is very, very important to maintain in answer writing. It's similar to if you are reading a newspaper article and you realize that I'm reading an article, and if you do not enjoy the article in the first few lines, what you do is you read it for the sake of reading only. You do not enjoy that. Imagine an examiner getting copies to evaluate in a whole day, and if that person does not enjoy your answer, it will be difficult to fetch marks. Because generally, as an evaluator, because I've seen almost 10,000 copies in my last 10 years of teaching experience for this examination, by reading first answer of the whole full test, I realize how much marks this person will get. Because the first answer you write at your best. Because you have all the time, you have all the knowledge, you have all the energy to write it. So by reading first 2-3 pages, I realize how much marks this person will get. So always remember that it is very, very important to have a flow. Next is balance. So you have to maintain a balance between data and theory. Generally, people write theory, like RBI has done that for growth, for inflation, but they do not write data. Some people are like, these are the last 5 repo rates. That is also not required. So here balancing theory with data is very, very important for the student of economics. And the last one we have is application. Application means when you see the paper, you will realize that almost 70% is static. full static. But still, if you read the question, you'll find these static things somewhere or the other has drawn from newspaper, current events, whatever government has done that in last few years. This is what we call application. For example, I was giving an instruction or guidance to one student in 2019, and I've given one question of agriculture. That was before COVID, 2019. So I gave him to write one answer on economics, which is related to agriculture. Then in 2022, he again subscribed to our test series of Indian Economic Service. I've given one practice question. He said, sir, give me one practice question. I've given the same question which I gave in 2019. So he said, sir, the question is same. But I said, the application, the answer changed. Because pre-COVID agriculture was different than post-COVID. If you see the data of Indian economy, only agriculture sector saw the growth during COVID period. Although services later on occupied, but during that lockdown, only agriculture was the sector that was surviving, or maybe I can say thriving. Because I had a conversation with Niti Aayog member, Dr. Ramesh Chand, and he also said that agriculture is doing pretty well. The video is already there in the YouTube channel, you can see. But here what is the important thing is application. If you just read it and do not apply, it is a struggle. So do not just read. Apply to the current scenario. If you are reading economic reforms, apply to the right now 2024 situation. So we have seen almost more than 30 years of economic reforms. What's the application? Next is conclusion. Under conclusion, it's like generally people think that this is a summary. Let me tell you, this is not a summary. Conclusion means we are reaching to a certain point after writing 80% of our answer. So if they are saying to give your point of view, you give that. If they are saying to reach certain conclusion and give a verdict, you give that verdict. If they are saying to discuss something, so you provide 2-3 conclusions that this can be done, this can be done. Always remember that you are writing this examination for representing India. If you are writing any answer which does not show your patriotism, optimism, nationalism, it creates a problem. So here what I say, whenever you're writing conclusion, it should be optimistic in nature. It should be like a summary or verdict or certain kind of a result or end point of a particular goal. Conclusion is never a summary, so never ever consider that. Second point under the component, second very important component is analytical depth and integration. Generally when we write answer, we just write on a monotonous way. Like we are writing on the basis of what we have read in the book, but we do not analyze, we do not interlink it. So here we'll see. Number one is critical analysis. Like for example, if I say classical economist. Now when classical failed, then only Keynes came. But when Keynes failed, then only I think monetarism or Friedman, we can say, considering it more free market. So here again say free market, then again controlled market, then again monetarist and Friedman said free market. And before classical, mercantilists were there, because mercantilism was not an organized theory, that's why we don't consider it. But before classical, mercantilist was also restricting imports and promoting exports. So here you can say the critical analysis you need to understand. Why? In 1929, Great Depression was there. Classical economy failed. Then Keynes came, that demand-driven, government control, government push, etc. Then in 1970s, when US economy was struggling with stagflation, it means economy is not growing, stagnation, but inflation is going high. So whenever government push certain things, economy doesn't grow, or economy did not grow at that time, and then inflation went up. Policy makers were confused, like what exactly happening? Then we started thinking from supply side economics. And then Friedman came, free market, monetarist. So here you can say this is the critical analysis you need. Next we have static with current. Again, I already explained static with current. So linking your economic theories, like for example, unbalanced growth, balanced growth. So these are the theories which we generally fail to link. Like for example, Nurks versus Hirschman. If you see unbalanced growth model, Many countries adopted that because resources are always limited. This is what we call, like, how much salary you will earn, your salary will always be limited. So you have to work on that particular thing and to control your expenses. Or second thing, you can increase your salary. So these are the two ways that we have. So here what we need to understand, if we're just reading static without implementing current, then it creates a problem for you. So always link static with current affairs. Reading any growth theory, reading any international economics concept, always link it with this. Like for example, Mundell-Fleming model. That model is in application, we can say European Union. So that's the most important thing. Reading WTO, see what the relevance of WTO in like current time in 21st century. And then we have diagrammatic representation. So generally what happened? These small diagrams you can easily make in your copy because these diagrams will help you in saving the space. So suppose you have made this diagram, you have made one flow chart here, okay, and you have written 4 points. In this way you will give more content in less space, so that will help in economics. Last component is language, clarity and precision. Number one thing which is very important is concise writing, because UPSC is not asking you to write essay. They will ask you to write 100, 200, at max 300 words. And when you have these things, 100, 200 and 300 words, you will realize that you have to write to the point only. You don't have any option to deviate from the question. Next is economic vocabulary. Use economic vocabulary like opportunity cost, like free market, laissez-faire. These are the things which you write in the exam. Examiner will get an idea that this person knows these terms. It will fetch you marks. Now, people generally overload that. That's why I've written this. Avoid jargon overload. Always talk in a simple language by using the keyword. Not always in a jargon mode, because generally more jargons will complicate things. So that is why overload is always avoidable. And then we have polished presentation. Polished presentation means, suppose when you are writing in a copy with the same pen, I will not recommend you to change pen because it wastes time. Suppose you are writing something and under that you will find some keywords. You can underline that. You can encircle that. Okay. You can use black pen to underline it. You can write in the bullet points. The better the presentation, it will be easier to evaluate. What I say always to my students, that whenever you are writing answer, it's always write in certain paragraph. If you are writing, suppose for example 1 page, it should be divided into 3 paragraphs. If a 1 page answer is there. If you are writing 2 pages, 3 pages, then obviously you can divide it into 2 paragraphs. But one single page with 1 paragraph is obviously not good in terms of presentation. So these are the things, small things which are very, very vital. People generally forget about it. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to register for our 3 hours free workshop on Indian economic services, where you will get all the insights about this examination, how to prepare, what to read, what not to read, how to write answers, etc., etc. Link is given in the description. And subscribe Ecoholics to get more videos like this. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.